Okay, let's go.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for stopping by. If you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. When you hit subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell to all so you'll be notified of all the new content that I'll be putting out. And I thank you for your support. Now today, I kind of talked about it in my last video, and it is because I was asked by a few different people different questions, because I leave my email, a contact information in my channel description, and that is, what is a probation officer? How do I become a probation officer? And what's it like being a probation officer? I already just did the what is a probation officer? So today's episode is going to be, how do I become a probation officer? And we're going to get into that right now. So how do you become a probation officer? Well, first off, you're going to search the county that you work in or that you live in, or a surrounding county, wherever you decide that you want to work. And you have to make a decision of, first of all, what county and if they're hiring. Second of all, you need to know what probation department you want to work for. Do you want to work juvenile probation? Do you want to work misdemeanor probation? Or do you want to work felony probation? And you can always change that up later on in life if you decide that being a probation officer is what you like and you want that career for the rest of your life as a career. You can always change. So if you start at juvenile and there's an opening that comes available in adult probation or misdemeanor probation, you can always change and apply for that position. But so becoming a probation officer, you need to have some type of background. So I was a felony adult probation officer, and every state's different. In the state of Ohio, they want you to have a bachelor's degree, a 4-year degree in either psychology, criminology, or social work. So those are the three things that they want you to have to become a probation officer, adult felony probation officer. Now, misdemeanor and juvenile probation, I'm not quite sure. They might want the same. I don't know, because I never worked for those departments. So you want to start by looking at the county you think you want to work for, or maybe you might have to go to another county next to you or another city next to you to go work for them. But look for the openings. But I suggest that if you do it, because the way it is nowadays, now I didn't have a bachelor's degree. Okay, I'm going to explain that to you here in just a minute. But go to college, get that 4-year degree, or if you have been to the police academy and got your OPATA certificate, which is the Ohio Peace Officer Training Association, and you have that certificate, which means you can be a peace officer or police officer or deputy sheriff, whatever. That's a 6-month course, and you can have that and then maybe get on with a smaller department. Everybody starts off at a smaller department and gets their feet wet. Sorry about that, guy. Gets their feet wet, per se, and then to get the experience, and then they can possibly use that experience. Well, he's been a police officer for 2 years, with this town or this city and this city or this county sheriff's department or that county sheriff's department. That helps a lot. But they also want you to have that because you have to have report writing skills. You have to have self-defense training, firearms training. There's a lot of things that you have to have. So if you did your 6 months and you worked in a police department, I can't say yes, 100% they're going to hire you because of that, because they really want you to have that bachelor's degree. Now, once you, my suggestion too is find any kind of, if you're going to college for that 4-year degree, go do an internship somewhere at a probation department, a courthouse, any court, particularly a probation department as an intern. You don't get paid, but you kind of get to shadow around and you'll be doing a lot of paperwork, kind of an assistant, but you don't get paid for it. But that's going to greatly help your chances of getting hired on. Having the background is what it's all about. Fresh out of college, no experience, and then you've got 100 applicants and they got to narrow that down, or 50, whatever, depends on where you live. They're going to go with somebody who's got more experience, and that 4-year degree is going to have to wait, or you're going to have to find a different field in criminal, the law enforcement field to go to. That's just the way it goes. Now, when I got hired, the reason I didn't have to have a bachelor, the reason why I didn't have a bachelor's degree was I never went to college for a bachelor's degree. I didn't even want to be, I never thought in a million years, and I was in my early 20s, like I had just early 20s. I lucked out and got a job at the sheriff's department. And I'm not going to say what my job was, and then they had an academy where you didn't have to go to a college to go to the police academy, or through, a lot of police departments have academies. Okay. And so they might hire you on, and then you're like a interim, and then you go to their academy. Well, we don't have that here. Here you have to do it yourself, and you got to go to academy. For the most part, I mean, some places might have it here in Ohio, other cities, bigger cities, or different counties where they still do. But as far as I know, they phased it out. But so at the sheriff's department, you can go to their academy, which they had a trainer and held it like maybe 3 hours a night or 2 hours a night, 3 nights a week, and also be working, because you're a deputy. You could be a special deputy and still be able to do that and go to the academy until you finished it. Anyways, back to that. So I had that experience, and then there was a little bit of a gap. And then I became a CO. And so becoming a CO, correctional officer, and then I moved up in that facility where I was an intake coordinator. And then I had an office, and basically my job was to classify inmates that wanted to come to, or that were coming to this facility, what their charges were, things like that, or their how they behaved, and while they're in prison, at this prison or that prison, to see if they're eligible to go to this facility. Because the more crap you get into in prison, the less chances. Anyway, and I knew people, and I worked with a lot of people, and the sheriff being one of them, working for him, knowing him personally, and knowing a lot of other people that worked in the law enforcement field. So when that job came available, I was told, hey, listen, there's going to be, by a friend of mine who worked there, there's going to be an opening coming up. You should apply for it. And the first step is send your resume in, or if they might say fill out the application. So I sent my resume in first because there was no job opening yet, but I went ahead and sent my resume in first. And then that opening did come available. Then they had me come in and fill out the application. Now everything's online. You just do it online. So I filled out the application, and then the hiring process for me was they wanted a 4-year degree, and there were several people that wanted the job. It got narrowed down to me and one other person, and there was another opening for a juvenile probation officer. I didn't want that job. I did not want to work with juveniles. Um, there's a big difference because they're minors and they're a lot more rowdier, and there's not a whole lot you can do with them because they're minors. And I just don't have the temperament for that. Getting spit on or screamed at or whatever, and I can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? Type thing. That's why I chose not to go the juvenile probationer or probation officer. So, anyways, put my application in. I got called in for an interview from the chief of probation. I interviewed with him. I had character references that I gave also from people that were like the sheriff and people I'd worked with. And that helped greatly. So, like I said, if you can do an internship and get to know other people and get them to write you a character reference, that does help a lot. And it has a lot of weight. So I interview with the chief. He calls me back and says, okay, now you need to come back for another interview. This time I interviewed with the judge, one of the judges, because we have an administrative judge who's in control of the probation department, and then all the budget for the courthouse. And so every year it would switch off. One judge would be the administrative judge. Next year would be the other judge, and they would just take turns rotating. But later on, the one judges I worked for, the one judge, he didn't like it. He didn't want to do it, so he just let the other judge do it all the time. Anyway, I interview with the judge. He's going to ask you a lot of questions, just like the chief of probation did. Give you different scenarios. How would you handle this scenario? How would you handle that scenario? One of the questions I was asked was about sex offenders. How do I feel about them, and how would I treat them? Now, one of the things I learned, and it could help you, and it's a good answer to a lot of questions, and that is, I was told by the sheriff, like, again, rest in peace. He passed away. He was a great man, very smart man. And I got to know him personally outside of outside of the sheriff's department. And he always told me that there's 3 things that you want to do, and you want to be fair, firm, and consistent. And if you do those 3 things, then you're not going to have any problems, which means you can't have favorites. You can't give one person, send them back to prison, or, you know what I mean, whatever. And then the next person, you like them, so you don't send them back to prison. You just give them some type of sanction. You can't do that. So I always stuck to that. And when I was asked these questions, like, how would you handle that situation, or what do you think of this? Regardless of how you really feel inside, I'm just telling you from my own experience. I mean, you're selling yourself. You have to sell yourself. You're like a salesman when you go for a job. Any job, you're a salesman. You have to sell yourself to that person to get them to want to hire you. So you got to tell them what they want to hear. And when you're asked a question, and this is just I'm just giving you a tip here. If they ask you a question like, so how would you handle this situation with this individual if they did this or that and this individual? I would be fair, firm, and consistent with, my decision. And, or just, it worked. I mean, and it worked and it helped my career by sticking to those three basic things: fair, firm, and consistent. Anyway, that's how you become a probation officer. Look in your counties, your cities, go to their websites, look for job openings, and they're always looking for probation officers because it's not for everybody. And that's how you get on. You're gonna have to get that 4-year degree. Maybe you already have it. Maybe you don't. Get some experience in the criminal field. Go do some ride-alongs. Like I said, volunteer at some a probation departments. Do an internship with them. Tell them I want to be a probation officer. Do you have any internship positions available? And most of the time they will, because it's free. It's free work. You're not getting paid to do it, but you're getting the knowledge, and you can use that towards getting that job as a probation officer. All right, I think that I covered it all. And like I said, I did that big long video. I'm going to take it down and broke it down into sections. And this is, how do I become a probation officer? I think I answered all your questions. If I didn't, or you have a question, feel free to comment down below. Leave me a comment, or in my channel description, I have an email address in there. Send me an email and I can give you what I know. I can help you out whatever way I can. All right. With that, I hope you have a great evening, a great day, wherever you may be. It could be daytime, nighttime, great evening, great day. And I'll see you on the next video. Peace.